Until now, we have been speaking about and demonstrating the technique of playing on the lira da braccio. But it exists also its younger and bigger sister lira da gamba, also called Lirone or archiviolata. What was and is lira da gamba or lirone? Basically, both instruments played in chords like lira da braccio and very similar to the viol or viola da gamba, but having more strings on the fingerboard and mostly two or more bass, no drawn or burden strings outside of it. According to contemporary sources of several music theorists, lirone could have from 9 to 18 strings. About this last unique source by Cardano we shall speak next year in another video of this Scuola. In the letter, famous cantore ad lyram Atalante Migliorotti, Leonardo's pupil and friend, sent to Francesco Gonzaga in 1505, he described the new type of lira that he was constructing. I shall add strings so that there are 12 in pure and consummate harmony. This could mean that he invented a prototype of lira da gamba or lirone, but it remains unclear when and where this new bigger lira started to be used. First occasion could probably be the case of intermedi for Antonio Landi's Il Comodo, performed in occasion of the wedding of Cosimo I and Eleonore of Toledo in Florence, 1539. There, Silenus sang the highest voice of Corteccia's O begli anni d'oro, performing other voices on the big bass viol. Then follows several intermedia where lira has been mentioned, but it is not always clear was it lira da braccio or already lira da gamba, lirone. Only later, towards the end of 16th century, we have mentions of lironi, in most cases in plural, or even archiviolata lira or lira grande, which is with no doubt the lira da gamba. We shall speak more about the role and use of both lire in various intermedia during 16th century in the next Simm number 6. Beside the way of holding the braccio or da gamba, there is another important difference between both lire. On smaller lira da braccio, one could sing and or perform melody and chords. On bigger lira da gamba, one could sing too, but perform the accompaniment only in chords, ideal for its proto-continuo role. I want to mention here that there are some specialists today who think that lira da gamba and lirone have been different instruments. I would even suppose that during almost 2 centuries of its history and use, from the beginning of 16th to the end of 17th century, there have existed various sizes and types of this instrument, probably with different tunings too. Therefore, I decided to use mostly lirone as a generic name for all lire which have been played da gamba and not da braccio with more than 9 strings. Lirone has similar symbolic role like lira da braccio and could be seen played or held by person of Apollo, Homer and King David, but its iconography is much more modest in comparison with some 400 examples in the case of lira da braccio. Similarly, as in the case of lira da braccio, there are very few sources containing the music for lirone, and the reason for that could be the same. On both lire, one after learning by heart, or chords, improvise the chordal accompaniment of mostly own singing or somebody else playing, in the case of Lirone, without music or directly from the score or bass line alone. Both sources are relatively late, first one from Neapolitan musician-composer and music theorist Scipione Cerreto, published in 1601, and French Marin Mersenne from 1636. Both give only the tuning of the instrument and one short fragment of music. Cerreto gives also some basic chords. Based on that scarce information, all of us who decided to play this marvelous instrument reconstructed the technique of playing and possible repertoire of Lirone, starting with the Grand Dame of Lirone, American cellist and viol player Erin Hadley. There are some differences in historical tunings of Lirone, but all of them basically follow the re-entrant tuning in ascending fifths or descending fourths, allowing you to perform all possible chords, from the simplest basic ones to the more complicated ones used in the mid or late 17th century Italian operas and oratorios. Scipione Cerreto, in his work Della pratica musicale vocale e strumentale, published in Napoli 1601, gives the tuning, chords, and a short fragment of music. Marin Mersenne, in his work Harmonie universelle, Paris 1636, gives several tunings and again a short piece of music, Laudate Dominum. Mersenne also wrote, "It is necessary to point out that one can add a second neck similar to the second one on the theorbo to accommodate as many bass strings as desired, since this is already done on viols. This gave to me an idea how to change the tuning of 4 bass outboard strings of my Lirone, which have been tuned at the beginning in the 2 octaves courses FF and GG, based on Cerreto's tuning. I decided to tune them F, G, A, B flat or B, and like that obtained a short scale, which, if necessary, could be continued on the lowest CC octave or course on the fingerboard. Like that, it would be possible to perform bass tasto solo as it was usual on the keyboard or plucked continua instruments. I shall demonstrate the advantage of this addition in the next year video on Lirone 1.2, where I shall explain the differences and advantages of some other tunings, and the first steps on the Lirone for absolute beginners. Here I shall explain the holding of the bow and playing of the basic chords. The bow was held underhand like on the viol and was mostly longer than the viol one. Even if the ideal of Lirone's sound was to perform long, sustained chords ideal for accompany the voice, the faster and shorter bowings for dance-like pieces in some intermedi also sound perfect. Before demonstrating the chords, I must explain another particularity of my Lirone. For 30 years, out of 40 since 1985, I have been using the frets on the fingerboard like any other normal Lirone or viol player. 10 years ago, after learning to play as an autodidact the electric NS Neat Steinberger cello, I decided to make some more changes on my Lirone, and Mr. Daniel Furian, an excellent instrument maker and musician working in Graz, made new fingerboard without frets with small metal signs instead. I wouldn't recommend this for absolute beginners, but after certain accommodation time, it seems to me an interesting possibility to avoid problems of different temperaments. Also, I decide for another, obviously non-philological feature to use metal instead of, as before, gut strings. Simply, I like this new silvery sound very much. Like in the case of the Lira da braccio, I want to stress the importance and beauty of the Renaissance practice on most plucked, keyboard and some bowed instruments, singing to your own accompaniment on the Lirone. Lirone's ingenious so-called re-entrant tuning system allows performance of 3 to 6 strings, 1 or 2 of them usually open, could be bowed together, which lent extra resonance and gave a particularly ethereal sound. This gives the possibility to play a series of chords using the almost same fingering across the entire fingerboard. Major chords are fingered on the 2nd and 3rd frets, minor ones on the 1st and 3rd. Augmented, diminished, 7th and 9th chords are obtainable, as are common suspensions 4 to 3, 7 to 6, etc. We shall talk about those more complicated chords in another video, Lirone 1.2, next year. First, I shall demonstrate the Cerreto's tuning, then my addition of bass strings as explained above. Cerreto tuning. Outboard basses G, octave G. Fingerboard strings octave C, C, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp. My addition, in the case of bass strings, F, G, A, B flat, which could be tuned also B. There follow the chords as given by Cerreto. Cerreto chords F, G, A, G, B, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, E. Tramezzamenti di consonanze imperfette maggiori. Major chords. D, E, G, A. Tramezzamenti di consonanze imperfette minori. Minor, A minor, G minor, E minor, C minor, D minor. I shall start with lower strings on the fingerboard, where we have the C and F major and minor chords. Ascending, we proceed on the circle of fifths, G always major and minor, D, A, E and B chords. Particularity of this tuning is that three chords could be performed in lower and higher register even on two different places and resulting with slightly different sound, C, F and B flat chords. Starting from low strings, major and minor chords. C, major minor, G major and minor, D major and minor, A major and minor, E major and minor, B major and minor, starting on higher string and descending the circle of fourths, we use slightly different grip or barré getting chords of F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat and G flat. All of them, in the case of longer note values, could be performed in the complete version or, in the case of shorter values and faster tempo, in slightly reduced version, omitting the fourth finger of the left hand. The minor version of those chords I shall explain in another video devoted to the Lirone 1.2 next year. Starting up with F major, B flat major, E flat major, A flat major, D flat major, G flat major. Some chords could be performed on different places, like C major, low, high. F major, high. B flat major, low, high. Again, starting from lowest string, I shall demonstrate that from the position of major with slight change of fingering, you got the 7th chord and suspension 4 to 3. Major 7th chord and suspension 4 to 3. C. G. B. A. E. Arriving on high strings and starting from high C major, again with slight change of fingering or grip, it is possible to change from major to its parallel minor, C to A minor, F to D minor, B flat to G minor, E flat to C minor, etc. Major and parallel minor. C major, A minor, F major, D minor, B flat major, G minor, E flat major, C minor. I hope you will have a lot of fun starting to learn how to play the Lirone. My lire methods too could provide significant help. You can contact me through my email and visit my homepage. See you soon in December this year for another video of my Scuola Immaginaria della Lira or Simm, speaking about the important role of both lire in many Italian intermedi of the 16th century. Bye.